There are multiple things you need to stop doing if you want to master rhythm guitar. You need to stop thinking of your rhythms as downs and ups. You need to stop strumming so hard all the time. And you need to stop putting your life story on the top of your recipe websites. First thing we're going to go over in this lesson is how you should really be counting your rhythms. The second thing we're going to go over is 3 different rhythm patterns. And then we're going to go over how you can spice up your rhythm playing and become a better rhythm player. And this is what separates the men from the boys. So buckle up. Let's first start off with how you count rhythms. So as musicians, we're really good at counting to the number 4. We're not so good at counting to the number 5 or really any other number. So to not overwhelm myself, we're going to do these 3 rhythm patterns in 4/4 time today. So when you have downs and ups, it works out for beginners and it makes sense because, that's how you strum down and up, but there's flaws with it and it really doesn't help you progress when you're just learning rhythm patterns with downs and ups. You really need to start thinking of your rhythm patterns as 1, 2, 3, 4, and everything in between that is accents to those notes. If you're doing quarter notes, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what quarter notes are. Once you add 8th notes, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. When you're doing the 1, it's a downstroke. When you're doing the and, it's an upstroke. So the downs and ups still continue to hold true and work with 8th notes. But once you get to 16th notes is when those downs and ups can really start losing you and getting confusing. And it's when you really need to just nix them all together. Because once you get to 16th notes, it's 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. There's a lot more downs and ups. So when you got the downs and ups going, you're gonna lose where you are. You're not gonna know if you're in the middle of the strumming pattern, at the end of the strumming pattern. You can lose the beginning, you can lose the end. So what you really need to think of it as is 1, E, and a. And what that is on your 1, it's a downstroke. On your E, it's an upstroke. On your and, it's a downstroke. And on your it's another upstroke. And that's going to help this start internalizing this rhythm in your head, because it's a lot easier if you can say what the rhythm is to start playing it. And another little tip here, especially with 16th notes, but really with anything, is that you want to keep your hand going. So if you're doing like a 16th note rhythm and it's 1, 2, 3E and a 4E and a, what you want to do is you want to do 16th notes with your strumming hand the whole time. So you want to do 1 E and without strumming, but you want to keep your hand moving because it's going to keep you on time. So 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and you want to keep your hand going to stay on time, because if you go like this and you go 1, 2, 3 E and 4 E and almost guaranteed you're gonna fall off of the time and the BPM of the track. So you want to keep your hand going. It's going to help you stay on rhythm better. And let's move right into these patterns that we're going to teach. So the first pattern is a simple one. You might already know it, and it's just 1, 2, 3, and 4 and. So it's in 8th notes, and it's just 1, 2, 3, and 4 and. You're going to use that for eternity playing guitar. There's always going to be new songs. You can write songs with that. It's a great strumming pattern. And if you're trying to play rhythm and lead together, which is one of my favorite things to do, you can use that rhythm as a basic rhythm to start out with. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. Just an idea there for you. I hope that helps. And that's a simple rhythm, and it's a great one to have in your bag of tricks. But let's move on to a more difficult one. And this one's still going to be in 8th notes. And the reason it's more difficult is just because you need to skip one of your downstrokes. And that can be difficult for beginners. And if you can really get this down and internalize this idea, then it's going to be a lot easier to play a ton of other rhythm patterns. Because this idea is really just getting it through your head that you're not always strumming on your downbeats. And that makes it easier to start incorporating other rhythm patterns that you're not used to. So what this rhythm pattern is 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, and 4. And we're going to slow this one down just to make sure you get it. Strum on your 1, strum on your 2, then strum on your and then you're not strumming on your 3, so you're going past the strings, and then you're and 4, and then you're not strumming on the and of 4, and you're back into it. 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, and 4. On this channel, we're trying to get better at guitar, so if that's something you're into, then please like and subscribe. And the reason this one's so helpful is because you're skipping those strums, and you're especially skipping that 3, and that helps you start internalizing the fact that you don't have to hit the strings every time. And if you can start getting used to that and feel comfortable with this, then it's a lot easier to jump to some of the more difficult rhythms, like this one that I'm going to show you now, which incorporates 16th notes. So the first two are both just 8th note strumming patterns, and this one's really 16th notes, and it's more difficult, but once you get this down, it's a great rhythm pattern to use for a lot of things. It's one of my go-to rhythm patterns. It's can be used on Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd, and it's just a fun rhythm to do. And what it is, it's 1, 2, E and 4 E and a 1, 2, E and 4 E and a 1, 2, E and 4 E and a 1, 2, E and 4 E and a. So this one can be difficult, but once you get it down, it's really fun to play, and it's really fun to work around with. So if you're going to play Comfortably Numb, let's talk about spicing these rhythms up. So they're more than just those strumming patterns. There's a little bit more to them. There's a lot of different options you can do, but it's really just adding accents to it and adding feel and dynamics. So dynamics are super important and super underrated. You see a lot of beginner guitar players and even some intermediate players that are just strumming so hard all the time, and it's so loud, and there's no dynamic range to it. It makes it so there's no feel to it. So you don't want somebody, I'm going to turn this guitar down so it's not so loud, but it's, you know, when you're strumming hard, you're going way past the strings, and it's just 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's fine in some sections of a song, but you don't want to do that for the whole song, every song, because if you're strumming really hard, then it's just the same volume level pretty much the whole time. It can be overwhelming, and it's not as nice as if you were gonna, you know, use some dynamics and play softer. So, you know, dynamics would be something like this. Palm muting is a huge part of dynamics. It's going to change the tone of your instrument a little bit. But if you were going to play something like this and you were going to strum it really hard, then that's going to be obnoxious after a little while. But if you were doing something more like, and just what I'm doing there is, you know, I'm just hitting the root note on your 1, on your first down strum, and that adds a little bit of extra to it. And then I'm doing some palm muting, and I'm not trying to play all 6 strings, because you don't have to play all 6 strings all the time. So after that after that root note, I'm really only hitting like 3 strings, and it's really aimed towards the A, D, and G string. And then on the back half of this, I was strumming the top string, so like the G, B, and high E string. I'm also not trying to strum super loud, and I'm trying to add a little bit of palm muting, but not entirely palm mute the whole thing. So that's just one example, but you can do a lot of things like this. You can just try and attack certain strings when you're strumming, and you can palm mute some of the notes and not the rest of the notes. And it's really going to just add a dynamic range and some accents to it. The accent would really be trying to strum a couple strings instead of all the strings, trying not to hit them super hard. And you can use this to control your volume range. And also, you know, if the song starts to build up and you just come out of a blazing hot solo or something and you go into the final chorus, you know, you could go to that full strum where, you know, the whole band's just like on fire and everything gets louder and everything. Then you can go to those full strums, and it's going to add that feel to it because you're going to be playing the beginning of the song a little lower in volume and up and down with your dynamics, and then, you know, at the end of the song you want to raise it up. That's an example of something you can do to really add some spice and add some dynamic range and some feel to your rhythm playing. And this is just one more thing you can do, but it's really just using your left hand to add staccato and add ghost notes. And these would all be ghost notes, right? Those are all ghost notes because you're not actually strumming the notes on the guitar because you're muting them out. So you can do that with your hand. And when you're adding these ghost notes, I've always felt like it's more of a feel thing than more of a, I need to know exactly where my ghost notes are fitting in. And the way you can work on this is you could really just take 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and you can just start adding ghost notes to that like this. And it's going to add a little bounce to it, right? And it's just going to add more to your rhythm. And as long as you keep your right hand going, it's going to work and it's going to sound good. And it's still going to keep the essence of the song, and it's just going to add a little more to it. I hope you found this lesson helpful. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.